Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome. If this is not, hi. So this is the outfit we're making today. This is something you're interested in, please keep watching. So first off, I've traced out my bodice block, my back and my front bodice block. For the back I left a distance of 4 inches, and for the front I left a distance of at least 2.5 inches, because we are going to be drafting the trouser block attached to the main bodice block. So please, in case your paper isn't enough, you can attach extra paper at the front of the front and at the front side of the back. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is extending my hip measurement all the way to the bottom of the paper. I'm going to be doing that for both the front and the back. So that's what I'm just doing there, extending. So now I'm just measuring my hip measurement so I can extend that all the way to the end. So that's just exactly what I'm doing. Then I'm going to rule that. So now the next thing I'm going to be measuring is my crotch depth. Now my regular crotch, that's my waist to my crotch, is 10 inches. But because this is a jumpsuit and you need to be able to move in it, I'm going to be adding 3 inches to that. So that's going to make mine 13. So whatever your crotch is, you're going to be adding 3 inches to yours. So I'm just marking that my new crotch measurement, which is now 13, not 10, because this outfit does not have any seam at the waist, and this is a jumpsuit. I need to be able to move. So I'm just ruling out my new crotch line. I'm going to be doing the same thing at the back, marking up my 13 inches. So at this point, guys, if you've not subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to just rule that to connect it to the front. So I'm just using my marker to make that more visible. So I'm marking that out. That's my crotch line, and then that's my crotch line. So next thing I'm marking, that's my hip, and that's my hip. So the next thing I'm going to be marking is the length of my Playsuit. So I'm just getting my measurements from the waist, 16. But guys, I later increased this to 18, and you see that later on in the video. But the first length I went to was 16. So if you're comfortable with that length, you can use that. If that's not what you like, you can increase it to however long you want yours. I'm just indicating what that line is, which is my length. So now I'm extending the crotch line. Now for the crotch extension measurement, you divide your hip by 6, and then you mark that in the front. So mine was 2.25, so I'm just marking that out. Then I'm going to be using a curve to connect from the hip to that new point. A smooth curve. Sorry, this was out of frame, but I later moved the paper so you can see. So that's me moving there, and I'm just showing you guys what it looks like. So that's 2.25 inch for my measurements, and then I connected with a smooth curve from the hip to that new point. So I'm going to be doing the same thing at the back, extending the crotch line. Now I'm going to get that my front measurement, the 2.25 I had in the front, plus extra 2 inches. So whatever yours is plus 2 inches is what you're going to mark for your back. So I'm making an angle at where those two lines meet. I'm going to be marking 1.75 inches. And then on the hip line again, I'm going to measure 1 inch upward. 1 inch upward, guys, and I'll connect those 3 points together with a curve. So that's what I am doing. So please just do yours like that. So now this is me increasing my length. Remember I said that was not the length I ended up with. I ended up making mine 18 inches from my waist. So if you want yours shorter or longer, at this point you can just increase yours. So I'm marking that line out. I'm just calling that my length because that's my new length line. So I'm just separating my front from my back. I'm going to be just indicating that this is the back and this is the front. So I'm going to be keeping the back aside, and I'm going to finish working with the front. So I'm attaching an extra paper to the side of the front, I'm extending my hemline, marking 1.5 inches out. If you want yours as wide, you can mark 2, 3, depending on what you're going for. Me, I went with 1.5 inch, and I'm going to connecting from my waist to that 1.5 inch at the new hemline. Now on that new line we just made, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch upward, 1.5 inch, and I'll blend that into the hemline with a curve. So that's just what I'm doing, blending. So 1.5, I'm just trimming it out. I'm extending the front crotch line all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to be cutting that out as well. So I'm cutting out the neck and the armhole. And my front is almost ready, guys, almost ready. There's just one more step that we'll do at the end to both the front and the back. So now for the back, I'm going to be repeating what I did at the front, adding a paper to the side, extending the hemline, marking 1.5 inch on the side. I'm sorry, this was out of frame. I don't know, I didn't know my was out of frame. So I marked just like I did at the front, 1.5 inch on the hemline. Then I'm going to be connecting that to the waist. So I ran out of paper somewhere at the top, but you see, guys, that I'll put an extra paper to complete that missing space. So this is me just marking, connecting from the waist to the hemline, to my new 1.5 inch on the hemline. So at this point, I'm just cutting out a paper so I can attach it and fill in that space. So this is me just filling in that line. So now I'm going to mark again 1.5 inch on that new side line, and then blend with a curve into the hemline, just like I did in the front. So that's what I'm showing you guys here. I'm just blending it into, and then I'm going to cut that out. So guys, if you're using my Bodice block pattern, which I'll be leaving a link down below, you remember you have 1/2 inch away from the waist at the back. That will give you that, it will let it blend smoothly into your back and not look lumpy or raised. So please, guys, use my Bodice block pattern. So I'm just trimming out everything, and the back is almost ready. So I'm just showing you the front and the back. So the next thing I want to do is mark out my pockets. So I'm marking 1 inch after the waist and 1 inch before the hip line. So just watch the way I'm using the free hand to draw out my pocket. So just do yours exactly the same. Just the way I'm drawing my pocket, it's free, just free hand. So I'm just just drawing it out, just smoothing everything out. So I'm marking that measurement at the back, 1 inch after the waist and 1 inch before the hip. So I know where to place my pockets when I want to start, because this is an inseam pocket. So I'm just indicating pockets. So I'm going to be tracing out this onto a fresh paper, putting a paper under. I'm going in with my tracing wheel and just tracing that out. And I'm going to use a marker to make that more visible. This is me just following the markings from the tracing wheel. I'm just tracing out my pockets. I'm just indicating my pockets, and then I'm going to cut it out. So that's my pocket. You can see it fits with the front. So I'm going to make those notches on my pieces when I'm cutting them. So now this is what I made. This is the final step. At the end of the front, I marked 1 inch, 1 inch in, 1 inch in at the center front, the hem of the center front, 1 inch in. I'm doing the same thing also to the back. Please, guys, watch. 1 inch in, and then I'll connect that to the end of the crotch line, just like that, and then I'm cutting that out. So repeat the same thing at the back. This is to give you fit in between your legs. So now our pattern is ready. I'm going to be going straight showing the pockets and everything. I'm going to be going straight into the sleeve. So on a fresh pattern paper, this is my sleeve block. Guys, I'll be leaving a link to that below. Just tracing up my sleeve block pattern. Marking out the middle of that so I can know the middle. And I'm going to be connecting the middle to the top. It's a straight line. And then I'm going to be marking out my my top arm line. So I'm just connecting that together. I'm going to make it more visible with my marker so you guys can see what I've done. So I'm just doing that with my marker, going back in my marker. Just marking everything out. So now I'm going to be marking the length of my sleeve. I'm using 7 for mine. So if you want yours 8, 9, whatever length, you can choose, do that at this point. So I'm marking mine 7 and I'm going to be connecting that. So that's pretty much all. You can just trim out your sleeve. I decided to just take away 1/2 inch at the side, but I put it back when I was cutting because I felt like I needed the sleeve to be free. So just ignore this step, but I'm just showing you that's what I did, but I changed my mind when I was cutting on my fabric. So I'm just trimming everything out, confirming with my block where my front is and where my back is. So I'm just trimming everything out and my sleeve block is ready. So guys, I'm just showing you guys all the pieces. That's my sleeve, my pocket, my front and my back. Just making all the final adjustments. And with that, our block is ready. So guys, don't forget to turn on your notification for part 2 and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.